Hi, I'm Megan, host of Radio Free Saturday Morning, the eclectic music mix beacon of the Four Corners and worldwide. Tune in to discover new music and to revel in the more familiar with no rules on genre, form, or novelty. Learn more about the origins of songs, the lives of the musicians that made them, and a wide array of interesting facts in general. It's freeform radio at its finest. Hear what you rarely hear anywhere else here on Radio Free Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Saturday on KSJE.
San Juan Regional Medical Center is your community hospital, committed to making life better for the communities we are privileged to serve. In fact, better is our mission, improving lives through personalized health and care. What matters most to our patients matters most to us, offering a comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and emergency care services so you can get the quality care you need right here at home. San Juan Regional Medical Center, celebrating life better here since 1910. KSJE is proud to support Riverfest, Memorial Day weekend, May 27th, 28th, and 29th on the banks of the Animas River in Farmington. Enjoy all-day music, food, beer gardens, vendors, crafts and raft rides, the recycled art show, and the plein air painters. Riverfest, a jolt-worthy event, proudly hosted by the River Reach Foundation, sponsored in part by the City of Farmington and the Farmington Convention and Visitors Bureau. Find out more at riverfestnewmexico.com.
Ten minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Thursday morning, the 12th day of May, 2022. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Michlin. Thanks for tuning in to KSJE. Usually, I would say we're on the air at 90.9 FM, but we are off the air for a bit longer this morning while our crews complete some work on our tower south of Farmington. But we are streaming this morning, actually, on all cylinders, so that's good news. We are streaming, of course, KSJE.com, and we also welcome our viewers who are watching this visual radio program. It is streaming out live this morning to the KSJE Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and our Twitter account. So welcome aboard, everyone. We're glad that you are with us because we're going to have an important discussion about weather, drought, and fire conditions with my guests from San Juan County Fire and Rescue. That is coming up in the next few moments. As we know, many parts of our state are dealing with fire danger and these wildfires that are not under total control just yet, and so our thoughts are with those folks in those areas. But we'll be talking about the threat here in San Juan County coming up in the next few moments on KSJE. Then later on this morning, more conversations about educators in San Juan County and New Mexico. There is more money available for professionals who would like to go on and get a higher education degree for teaching purposes. That's coming up today, 8:45 on KSJE, so stay tuned for that this morning. Mick S. will be here, of course, roving with the arts. Next hour at 9:06, our classical music program. Mick is playing some Gershwin for us this morning, so we hope you will stay tuned and enjoy that coming up today as well. Don't forget, of course, if you're a social media person, you can also connect with us on our Instagram page, in addition to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you're a podcast person, this program, as well as all the other ones that we do here locally, are podcasts on all the popular podcast platforms. So subscribe for free to KSJE Podcasts wherever you listen to podcasts. Places like iTunes and Spotify and iHeartRadio and Google Podcasts and Pandora. The list goes on and on. So check it out and maybe discover a new program you haven't heard before. Outside our studios here at San Juan College, it is currently a sunny Thursday morning, 46 degrees at the moment. It's going to be a cooler day today and not quite as windy, which we're all excited about. 67 for a high this afternoon. Partly cloudy overnight tonight, but cold with a low of 36. Partly sunny tomorrow, mostly sunny tomorrow, I should say, with a high of 77 on Friday. Clear Friday night with a low near 40. Then the heat comes back on Saturday with a high of 84, 89 on Sunday, mid-80s again Monday and Tuesday, and upper 80s for Wednesday and Thursday of next week with overnight lows in the 50s. And with that being said, that weather outlook, let me turn to my guests who are here with me this morning to talk about weather and fire danger and drought. Two deputy chiefs from San Juan County Fire and Rescue. David Vega is here. Good morning. Thank you for coming in this morning.
Hey, Scott, thanks for having us.
You bet. Good to have you here. You are the deputy chief of operations for Fire and Rescue.
I am indeed.
Very good. Also joining us here in the studio, Chris Cardin is here, deputy chief for San Juan County Fire and Rescue of Administration. Mr. Cardin, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to have you here as well. Thank you
for
joining us to talk about this, really important conversation. We just see the pictures day after day of what's going on in northeastern New Mexico, these devastating fires, and really, there for the grace of God, go us, unfortunately. And so I know you guys are watching this, and the thought, as we talked about this morning, was it's not a matter of when or if, but when devastating fire could happen here in San Juan County. Is that true?
Yeah, it's kind of a unfortunate thought that we all have to bear right now, but we're seeing historic conditions. We're seeing historic weather, some historic drought, and some historic fire danger right now in the entire state, but specifically here in northern New Mexico. So, as firefighters, as fire officers, as fire chiefs, we're definitely on the edge of our seat, and we've kind of adopted the philosophy that it's just a matter of time and not if, and that helps us prepare and develop our response plans and implement some mitigations to hopefully alleviate some of that. But you're absolutely right; it's going to happen. The only question is how bad, how big, and how devastating it is. So.
Right. Oh, and I don't mean to say that out loud, but that is kind of the forecast that we're facing, right, in our state and in our region.
Yeah.
Because of these conditions. Showing the drought monitor right now from today on the screen for folks, and as you can see, the majority of San Juan County is in that. That color would be the extreme drought, right? Not exceptional,
yeah,
but extreme. And then some other parts are in the severe drought. So any way you cut it, it's still drought.
Yeah, that if you look at the drought monitor, we are in that extreme. It can be a little worse, but certainly we're seeing the worst of those conditions on the ground right now. Talking in the pre-show, I looked at this morning and I wrote it down because I wanted to make sure it was 100% accurate because I didn't believe it when I looked at it. But just for the benefit of the viewers as it relates to drought right now, May 2020 to April of this year, April 2022, was the driest on record for the entire Southwest region. So, and that data is from the U.S. Drought Monitor. So when I say historic, we truly are seeing drought conditions here in the Southwest, and in particular here in northern New Mexico that we've never seen before, and that directly correlates to the fire danger that we're seeing right now.
Right. And so, in the parts of the state where the fires are burning, in the areas around Las Vegas, New Mexico, and Los Alamos, and those are the two major areas that I'm aware of, and maybe there's some others too, but their landscape isn't all that different than it is here, is it? I mean, maybe a little more mountainous, but still a lot of the same brush and same forest areas and things like that we have here, or is it somewhat different?
The excuse me, where those fires are burning right now, the fuel is a little bit different. Those landscapes are predominantly mixed conifer and pine stands. Our fire danger here is really in our bosque systems.
Along the rivers?
Yeah, the Animas, the La Plata, the San Juan. And certainly if you get towards the east side of the county, we transition from that pinyon juniper fuel type into some pine fuel type. But, the take-home message, Scott, is that regardless of whether it's pinyon juniper, Russian olive, salt cedar, mixed conifer, pine, the live fuels are extremely drought-stressed right now, and the dead fuels are bone dry.
Right.
This is kind of an interesting, fact. When you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, right, and you buy a 2x4 off the rack, right? That 2x4 has been dried in a kiln before it gets to the hardware store. Kiln dried lumber still has roughly, 11% to 16% moisture in that 2x4. The dead fuels that we're seeing right now are drier than a 2x4 that you'd get off the rack at Home Depot right now. that makes you stop and think about how dry our landscapes are right now.
And I guess an example and a reason why these fires, when they do start, spread so fast and are hard to stop.
Yeah, so we call that the resistance to control, or how hard it is to control a fire. So the fires that we're seeing right now have an extremely high resistance to control because how dry things are. Certainly the winds that certainly everyone here in northern New Mexico has been dealing with the past 2 months certainly don't help that. Anybody that's had a little flood in their house knows the way to solve that is to go get a fan and start drying things out through that evaporation. The winds that we've been seeing the past 2 months do the same thing to the fuel. They dry the surface out, they dry the fuels out, and then they aid in pushing that fire in certain directions. So we've got all these environmental factors that are just working against us right now when we do get a start, and it really is historic, and I don't use that term lightly. It really is historic, the fire danger that we're seeing right now, and not only the state, but in the entire Southwest.
Right. Very true. Chris Cardin, let me turn to you a little bit and ask you about some of the fires maybe that we've already seen. Luckily, smaller fires, but they are popping up, right, and being driven by these dry fuels and these windy conditions that all of us have been dealing with, forever, it seems, this spring, maybe more than we even remember.
Yeah, I think one of them that Chief Vega and I were at here recently was probably about 3 weeks ago. We had a fire in Bloomfield, just right there in the city, that started probably about 2:33 in the morning and ran to about 40 acres, 50 acres. So that's, seeing that type of fire behavior that early in the morning when usually you shouldn't have the winds, your moisture content should be a little bit higher. We're again, because it is so dry, those are the type of fires we're seeing. And as it moves closer to the fireworks season, that's what we're worried about, is it's continuing to get drier and drier out there. And that's what we're worried about is getting some of these fires where, being a volunteer organization, we're limited on our resources. We have to bring in our volunteers to the station, get them on trucks, get them to these fires, and we're worried about how fast these fires can grow before we get resources on them.
Right, and that's an important thing for folks to remember too, is to be able to stop these things as they start spreading, and with the winds, they just get spread so much faster and wider than maybe they could without the winds, obviously, even with the fuels. To be able to jump on that pretty quickly, I guess time has got to be of the essence, right, to get crews in place and maybe in front to make some lines or do some other type of protections to stop the spread of a fire?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people, I think, out there still, don't understand that, San Juan County Fire and Rescue still is, the majority of our organization is still volunteer. Probably over 90% of it's still volunteer. So we rely on people that, have daytime jobs and stuff to hopefully stop what they're doing, and the younger generations that maybe don't have a family yet or kids or in school to hopefully assist us in mitigating these fires and joining our districts and assisting in their community and helping out.
You always have openings for more volunteers, don't
Absolutely,
you?
It's never
the
ending.
County Fire and Rescue Department, so they can contact your office to apply or
Absolutely.
start the process, right,
Absolutely.
to do that? Because I know it's going to be a busy, we know, all of us in this room know there's going to be a busy fire season this summer. We talked about it before we came on the air this morning, and you mentioned fireworks coming up, and that the sales start, June 20th?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
In the state? And so that adds another, as you guys mentioned, potential ignition source. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for what we're talking about. And so that's got to make you guys, I don't even know how you sleep at night. Do you sleep at night, both of you?
Chris and I start to get a little punchy this time of year.
Yeah.
We both had full sets of hair, I think, at one time, and we've lost that over the years. But we certainly go into a heightened level of situational awareness
Right.
as that date approaches.
And so I guess with the legal sales of fireworks, again, I think the governments are doing as much as they can to try to restrict those that they can under state law and what have you. But there are things that folks can do to launch fireworks safely or use them safely. I know McGee Park has always been put out there, and that's the plan again this year, I think, to have that vast parking lot available, which is probably one of the safest places people could go to do that. But again, I think both of you would probably advise folks to enjoy maybe the professional shows in the area that are going to be monitored and done, and so they can be watched, and fire danger is pretty much at a minimum with those professional shows that are going to be scheduled, of course, again around the 4th of July.
Yeah, as far as I know, I think the schedule should probably be the same in the past. I think Farmington always does their show on the 3rd. Tommy Bullock will do his on the 4th, and then the city of Bloomfield does theirs on the 5th.
Right.
So everything.
Lots of great opportunities to do them
absolutely.
3 days in a row if you wanted
Absolutely.
to. Sure.
If we do. Absolutely, if people are going to go out and buy fireworks, the two things that we always tell everybody is, again, the fireworks that they buy in the county are not the same as what they can have in the city and the city tents. There's always been that question. So the city of Farmington, Bloomfield, Aztec, and the town of Kirtland are all considered what's safe and sane. So basically, that firework classification on the package will say caution, and those usually stay on the ground. They're not a lot of aerial type fireworks. In the county, we still allow some of those aerial type fireworks. Those will be labeled warning, and so those are a little bit more dangerous and will launch into the air. Just make sure that you don't buy in the county, take into the cities. That'll absolutely get you in trouble.
Right.
So we try to tell everybody, go to McGee Park, shoot them off. The only thing we really ask and we really try to push forward is we don't want to lose that opportunity of using that area. I know last year when a lot of people were out there, and we had an unprecedented amount of people out there last year, we still had a lot of trash and people left a lot of stuff out on the grounds, which is, it makes it difficult because the county's, letting the people out there use that, and then they have to come in and try to clean it up. So all we ask is please, we'll have dumpsters out there. We're trying to mitigate that. If they are out there, please come out there, do it safe, enjoy it, shoot your fireworks out there, but please police them up and put them in a trash can after you're done with them, and don't leave them out in the parking lot when you leave.
Good advice. Very good advice. My guest this morning from San Juan County Fire and Rescue. We're talking to the two deputy chiefs who are working day in, day out to kind of mitigate any fire danger and get the word out about the threats that we are facing here in San Juan County this summer as things continue to be dry, as the forecast showed. There's no rain in sight, and that's got to be a concern as well after a winter that was wet, but as we were talking too, snowpack was average, but we've just been so dry for so long, the water just kind of seeps into the ground and doesn't really cause any long-term benefits, I guess. Is that where we are?
Yeah, if you walk out right now, there's probably still some traces of snow, up on the La Platas, and I think everyone gets comfortable with the fact that when they see snow up to the north, that it means we're hunky-dory. But the fact is that we've been in such a long duration drought that unfortunately snow up on the mountains really doesn't mean that it's doing anything to alleviate the long, prolonged drought that we've been in here in the Southwest. Snow up on the mountains fills reservoirs or helps to fill reservoirs, but it doesn't necessarily mean that moisture is seeping into the ground. So we're not seeing the benefits of snow up high doing anything to alleviate the fire danger down here. There's also the snow water equivalent and how much water is in the snow. So there's lots of environmental factors, but the snow up high doesn't really do anything to alleviate the drought or help with fire danger. What's going to help us is long duration or long periods of slow soaking rain. If you look at the 30-day outlooks, the 60-day outlooks, unfortunately, there's just not much out there predicted to come in. Hopefully, the monsoons are on time and a normal monsoon season. But again, we really need months of soaking rain to help take us out of the drought, certainly.
Got you. And that's got to be a concern because that's the pattern we keep seeing year after year, and it really hasn't changed all that much. And this seems to be kind of the new, I hate to say that term, new normal, but here we are.
Yeah, there's certainly fluctuations where we have lower periods of fire danger because we have gotten some moisture, but we're in a cycle right now where the West is just dry, if you look at the science, there's lots of science out there to suggest that we may continue in that cycle for several more years before we enter into a wetter cycle. But right now we are dry, and there's unfortunately there's just not much out on the horizon that's going to alleviate that.
Right. Let me ask you both a little bit about things that maybe homeowners can do. You talked about the fire in Bloomfield, which was kind of in town, and so you've got kind of a more urban setting. We've got the interurban interfaces too, that are kind of on the edges of town. Then you've got folks that live maybe out in the country, out in the county, maybe along the river where there's more vegetation and things along that line. So lots of different areas to have to fight fires in. We always hear about trying to be, fire safe and maybe take vegetation away from your homes and things along that line. What's your advice for folks with this very dry outlook to say, because maybe they're going to be safe, but if their neighbor's not or a car driving by is not, they're in the same risk as everybody else. What would you say?
Yeah, the public can do a lot to help us, and one of the big things that the public can do to give us a fighting chance, so to speak, is really create that defensible space umbrella around your house. And those are not hard steps, but there's some really simple things that folks can do. Keep the grass short around your house. Any unnecessary clutter, within that 20-foot bubble. Clear that combustible materials away from your house. Stacked firewoods. Don't stack firewood on your deck. Clean your gutters of needles. If you have dried needles, vegetation on your roof that's just collected over the years, those little pockets of fuel make a great home for a fire ember to start. So, create that defensible space bubble around your house, make it as fire resistant as possible, and then that allows us to get in there and make a stand, so to speak. It gives us a fighting chance to save your house. But when you don't have that defensible space bubble, it makes our job to save your house extremely challenging.
Right. And I guess, is that why maybe sometimes we see in some of this footage, Chris Cardin, that sometimes there's a house that's gone and all you see is a foundation and next to it is maybe a house that's still saved, surrounded by, you can see that a fire's gone through the area, but one house is there and the other house is long gone, unfortunately.
Sure, yeah, like Chief Vega said, trees overhanging onto your roof, the vegetation growth around the house. Keeping it, there's a big difference between somebody that has a lot of trees and grass around their house, but it's all dead, compared to somebody that, takes the time to make sure that their grass, everything's watered, it's green, the resistance is going to be there to where it's not going to be as flammable as the next person or your neighbor's house where everything's dead. So, again, taking the time to mitigate those fuels, get them back off of the roofs, clean everything out, keep everything short, trimmed, will definitely benefit, because that's the biggest issue we have when those flame fronts come through and they start pushing embers and those embers get into the wind. They're going to start landing on things, and if it's conducive to ignition, that's how you might lose a house one and then 3 houses down, is because it just depends on where those embers are going to drop and where they fall.
Right.
And so it's almost like a tornado. Might hit one house, might skip 3, and then hit another one. It's the same with the embers. Once they get up in the air, and if they're still burning hot and they're larger chunks of embers, it's just where they end up deciding to land.
Sure, right. And I guess the crews too, right? Deciding what they can defend and maybe what they can't defend. Deputy Chief Vega, is that something that happens on the front lines of these big fires? Is that crews are like, this house doesn't have a lot of space, and so let's look at the one next door, and maybe we can save that one, and this other one, I don't want to jeopardize my firefighters, so let's focus on this one.
Yeah, so much how we would, we would triage patients on a large medical scene. We triage structures in a wildland urban interface fire. So as we're driving through neighborhoods or subdivisions, we're identifying the high risk, the low risk. We're identifying homes that have that defensible space where we know we can get in there and save this home. So we're triaging that stuff. So when you have a home that's got defensible space, we're more apt to throw resources in that because it's a home we know we can save. And unfortunately, we do have to make decisions where we're writing off houses because there's no defensible space, and it's going to put our firefighters at jeopardy to get in there and try to save that house. So it is. We're in that structured triage mode, and those are hard decisions for firefighters to make on the ground.
Well, yeah, and sometimes split-second decisions too, isn't it? You got to make it pretty quick as that fire is breathing down your neck. Sometimes
Absolutely.
Literally, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's the issue. So bottom line, I guess the advice is just going to be we're in for a long, hot, windy summer, it looks like to me, from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I think, one less spark, one less wildfire. So anything that the folks can do to eliminate any accidental ignition sources, I think that's very prudent right now.
Very good. Deputy Chief Cardin, any other advice for folks for the summer? I mean, again, we're going to see fires. We probably can't say we're not, but how we react to that and try to prevent them is the important thing.
Yeah, I know that water, of course, is probably going to be short, but use it sparingly, but make sure that areas around your house are wet, especially coming into the fireworks season, which is going to be here before we know it. And the other thing that we probably is the no burning right now is probably another thing that we need to mention is that right now, due to the drought conditions that Chief Vega spoke of, we are not allowing any agricultural or basically open burning right now, which also affects recreational fires, bonfires, stuff like that. So we're really asking everybody right now just to button down and we're trying to eliminate, like we said, all those open ignition sources as much as possible right now. Good
to mention that. Thank you for doing that. And you guys kind of post that every day, I think, too,
yes,
to let folks know daily what the forecast is going to be and what the decision is about burning. Before we go, I did want to give the county a shout out because the bridge is open in the Lee Acres area, which I know helps with rescue and firefighting and things like that, to be able to have a 2-lane bridge over the river to get off to the West Hammond neighborhood. And so kudos to the county for getting that done.
Yeah.
I know it took probably longer than anyone wanted, but it looks beautiful, and there's some pictures on the screen of this new bridge. But that does help with response, doesn't it, for getting crews to where they need to be? I know you were staging some equipment, weren't you, on the other side of the river for a time?
We've got a fire station that we recently built, a second station for the Lee Acres district that's on County Road or Road 5500
on the other side.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and when the bridge was being torn down and stuff, that did cause an issue to where, any ambulances, anything, you had to come out of Bloomfield, had to go down 550 and come in the backside of 5500. Once they got it to 1 lane, we were able to get across, but it could be delayed depending on where the light was and what traffic was coming across. But now that it's open, we should see our times and the availability of getting resources to that side of 5500 a lot quicker.
Very good. Well, again, we're excited that it's open, and the county's excited that the project is done. And again, congrats to everyone involved. I know folks have been waiting in that neighborhood for a while, but it certainly is an improvement to that stretch of the road. So very good. Gentlemen, thank you for coming in this morning and kind of sharing these really good words of advice and caution as we come into this really hot and dry season. I know, we hope for the best and plan for the worst, and I guess that's the way we're going to look at it, right?
Yeah, indeed.
All right, very good. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My guest this morning, San Juan County Fire and Rescue, with me here on KSJE. KSJE is supported by the Farmington Civic Center, bringing a full slate of entertainment to Farmington and San Juan County. The interactive art of Outrageous, Saturday, May 21st at 7:30 p.m. The Farmington Civic Center, 200 West Arrington in downtown Farmington. Find out more online at fmtn.org/shows or 505-599-1148. KSJE and San Juan College present the Student Success Coaching Tip of the Week. Week 16, Finals. Don't let the finals week become a nightmare of stress and anxiety. Get prepared and conquer your finals with these final steps. Start early. Create a study schedule and stick to it.
Prioritize your study time. Some exams may be harder than others. Attend the review session. Ask questions about the exam and study for the style of exam. Create a study guide and make flashcards. Take breaks and stay well rested. Quiz yourself, or better, have someone else quiz you. Show up early for the test. Visit the tutoring center for additional support.
The Student Success Coaching Tip of the Week, presented by KSJE and the Student Achievement Center at San Juan College.